Good afternoon, traders and investors from around the world. Josh filling in here for Joel today. We're going to have on Christian Fromhertz, founder and CEO of Tribeca Trade Group on. He'll be talking about rotation that we're seeing in the markets. But for now, let's check in and see what the S&P futures are doing. We're currently still sitting down under the 4,300 level. We haven't seen that since yesterday after the sellers came in, and we haven't even seen a close above 4,300 yet. So as soon as the futures here close above 4,300, I know I'll be getting a little bit more bullish. Let's take a look at the dollar. That's sitting up slightly at 0.15%. Today at 104.10. That's a little bit of an expanded trading range, but another another trend there that we're following. Bonds, those are pretty flat on the day. Again, just chopping back and forth here at 127.31. Crude, that's down about 0.6%. That dip not getting bought quite as much. Right now it's sitting at 71.71. And it's interesting. We talk about the inverse relationship between the dollar and commodities, but even though the dollar is going up a bit today, gold is still up about about a quarter point there at 1979. Charts are taking a while to load here, but this dip certainly got bought today. Although we're trending a little bit back down there, still remaining under that 2000 level that we saw a few days ago, or well, last week. But we'll be looking for it to hit that. Silver, that was down earlier today, but that got bought back up to where silver is now up about 0.15% at 23.67. And Bitcoin, that's also up about 5%, just about the open yesterday. I mean, that's the buy the dip crowd right there. So while we're waiting for Christian to come on here, let's take a look and see at some earnings. There's not too many earnings after the close today. I suppose we have Dave and Buster's, which is Play. It's kind of a, yeah. I don't know who's trading that, but I'm staying away from that one. We have Casey's General Stores. Yeah, another small one. So that's after the close today. Let's see what there is for the open. Let's see. United Natural Foods is before the open tomorrow. Campbell's Soup, if you're looking at your soup there. Let's see where that's at. Current, wow, actually that's down almost 2% today. And for that stock, that's a big move. So let's see if it can hold that $50 psychological level and almost have a double bottom forming there today. And let's take a look at what else has been moving today. We have PDD, which that actually has finally cleared. That's at least a triple top. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 highs all around the 72.50 level or just under there. It's finally cleared that at 73. So I'd be looking if that can hold that into the close and close above that level. I'd be personally a little bit more bullish there. And that's up 7% today. So people are happy with that one. Let's see. Oh, here's Christian. Let's bring him on here. Well, Shopify, I'll just quickly mention. That's up today about 6.5%. And let's see here. That's gonna form at least a double top here if it doesn't clear it or what. But let's see what Christian has to say. Christian, can you hear me?
I can. Sorry, let me just I'll turn on the get the video going. There we go. How you doing?
Hey, there we go. Good. How are you?
Good. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. You're filling in for Mr. Joel, I see, huh?
Filling in for Mr. Elconin. Yeah, I mean, you can call me Junior Joel or Josh.
I'll do
Yeah, either
Josh, I
way.
think is best. We'll
Yeah,
stick with Josh.
yeah, we'll stick with that. So yeah, we're seeing lots of rotation here. What are you looking at lately?
Well, I'm impressed with some of these groups. For one, I know it just doesn't seem to get that much attention, but the home builders are really just rocking and rolling, and they're doing it in an environment that I get it. Like everybody thinks, probably the home builders could be like one of the worst place, one of the last places that you wouldn't want to be, but it continues to so this is the ITB ETF that I'm looking at right now, and
Okay.
it's back out to new highs. And I was just talking about this about a week ago, because it had a test with the 50-day moving average, and it held like a champ, and had a nice bullish engulf, or close to a bullish engulfing candle, I think about 4 days ago. And that was when it was
Hmm.
trading at like $72, and it's at 78. So of course, this is an ETF, and I always tell traders in my trading room that you don't have to trade the ETF. You could just kind of use it as a proxy for, like, noticing, how well it's acting. And then you can kind of
Yeah,
dig into,
absolutely.
yeah, and then
Mhm.
kind of dig into individual names. And that's basically what I do. Or sometimes I'll hold the ETF and I'll hold a couple of individual names. But somebody mentioned this to me on Twitter. I always get funny questions on Twitter, but this wasn't a funny question. It was just a fact of, like, well, I raising, with higher interest rates, this is such a bad looking trade. And I was like, well, it could just also be like a demand and supply thing. It could just be that there's still, a high demand for homes, and not too big of a supply, right? And sometimes that's what trading comes down to, is just, overall demand and supply. And
Hmm.
that could be the case here. So yeah, I mean, I own Pulte Homes, and that's I took a profit target today, but it's up 4%. So this is one of the groups. And the ITB is more geared towards home builders. I think there's like 70% or something like that,
Okay.
in that ITB ETF. And then of the XHB, which is weird because they call that the home. I think that's the home building ETF, but
Yeah, it's the
that's,
S&P Home Builders ETF. Yeah.
yeah, so that's equally weighted, and it actually has a lot of retail. So it's got like things like Home Depot and Lowe's, I believe, that are in that. But that's not
Hmm.
looking bad in terms of in terms of the ETF and the performance there too. I was actually thinking about taking a long there, or just continuing to kind of look for names. I mean, Owens Corning is a name too. That's OC. That is not a home builder, but goes into the process of the components of making homes, and that's another one that's out to new highs today. So yeah,
Yeah, these are all super strong today.
yeah. So
Uh,
I'm really impressed with what these things are, with what these things are doing. Another group, I know the banks are the big story, because you look at the
mhm.
leaderboard today, and they're making such a nice move. But sorry, I just have a trade
Yeah,
on.
the XLF ETF is up about well, just over 1% today, which for financials
Yeah, and
is exciting.
the KRE, the regional bank ETF, is up 4.7%. But I'm more of a trend
Mhm.
trader, so I don't mess with too many things below the 200-day moving average. But I like what the industrials are doing too. You've got some nice strength there, and I think that has to do a little bit with China stimulus too, that we heard on Thursday night, and then we heard a little bit last night that they might be doing things like reducing, like, the payment for a house, the down payment for a house. So,
Oh,
uh,
interesting.
yeah, so
Okay.
that's having a decent day. Although, if you go through names, you'll find that because the XLI is only up about a 0.5%. But there's another ETF that I pay a lot of
Mhm.
attention to that gets hardly any attention. That's AIRR. It's called the Industrial Renaissance ETF,
Okay,
and
yeah.
that's up 2.6%. And it's more like your obscure industrial names, and it's amazing because you look at the big caps, and again, today's just not a day for the large caps, but
Hmm.
this thing
So
looks, yeah.
yeah, you use these ETFs as, an indicator that hey, the group's real strong. And I know you're a technicals guy.
Yep.
So are you paying attention to the technicals on the ETFs as much, or is that now down to the individual stocks?
Both. Yeah, I mean, that's
Okay.
basically, I'll start from, I kind of use a little bit of a top-down approach. So I do that with, overall, like, international and what's going on with interest rates and all those types of things. So a little bit macro, but the top-down approach, then I'll go to, what the US indices are doing. And you mentioned small caps, which are having a hell of a day today. And then I'll also drill down to say, okay, well, within those groups, within the indices, what are the sectors that look pretty good? What's starting to show relative strength? So then
Hmm.
I'll look for those ETFs that are excelling, and then I'll basically say, and then I'll look for the individual names and see if I can find some setups there. And sometimes if it's this ETF is kind of tough because it's really obscure names. Like it's a name like Hubble, HUBB, right? Again, it's another name that that is pretty obscure in the industrial world. But look at it; it's massive, nice performance. So I may, in
Yeah,
this
no kidding.
case, I may not trade Hubble, HUBB, but I may stick to the ETF because the individual name may be a little bit too thin, in terms of that, and it may be a little
Yeah,
bit,
that's very low volume. Yeah.
yeah, and the liquidity may be kind of wide, maybe wide. Like I'm trading a name today, called it's ATKR. It's the name of the company is Atcore, but and I love the chart setup, but if you look at the bid ask spread, it's kind of wide. So this morning I was getting into the name and I kind of I legged in a little bit because I didn't want to pay the offer, and I didn't want to pay certainly above the offer because in the morning, and it may still be trading that way now, but let's see what it's tightened up. The bid ask is about 15 cents wide, but in the first hour of the day, I was noticing that the bid ask spread is $1 wide. So
Oh wow,
um,
yeah.
yeah, so you have to be careful with with some of these things, but
No kidding.
it's nice to be able to find. We've had the luxury of the queues doing really well, and many of the top weights in the queues are really liquid. So there's that's where there's been liquidity, but it's nice while these that area is now kind of consolidating a little bit, because the queues are pretty overbought. The RSI is 76. um, so while
Hmm.
that's kind of going sideways or maybe taking a little bit of a break, it's nice to be able to kind of find some other groups that are doing really well in place of that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's been an inside day for the big overall market and definitely the Qs today. So yeah, it's good to find all those ones that are actually moving.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the story. And I'm watching what the semis are doing too. It seems like they're taking a little bit of a break. They've actually been underperforming the Qs for about a week. So what I'm interested to see is if people are going to start coming back in and buying the dip in the some of the semis. So for example, like the first place I'll start is the SMH ETF, right? And that topped out right around 151.60, and it's down $5 from there. So this would be a logical place. I think maybe the 20-day moving average may need to still kind of catch up to the price action a little bit, so may spend a little bit more time consolidating, but something to keep an eye on that I'm watching.
Well, yeah, that must have popped up with all the Nvidia earnings and all the AI news last week, as did so many of those.
Yeah, they were all running, and they seem to be, for the most part, a good portion of them in consolidation mode right now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Well, are there any other sectors that you're taking a look at? Like home builders, semis?
Yeah, home builders,
Um,
semis, industrials, and just kind of select names in growth right now. I think
okay.
shop is one name that is one of those names that didn't really move up. That it moved up on earnings all the way up to about $64.
Mhm.
And then it kind of came down to about 56. And since then, it's been looking pretty decent. And I'm looking for this thing to, as long as it closes above 63, I'm a fan of this thing, and I'm looking for a move. If it can stay above 63, I'm looking for $70 in Shopify.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's good to know.
yeah.
Do
So
you,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry.
So like Shopify, I know there's some sympathy with Etsy today. Are you looking at that at all? I mean,
I
being another
am. I don't really know
e-commerce.
what to do with that name. I've gotten a couple questions about Etsy today. Again, it's one of those names where that it's nice to see it up, and of course you could day trade to your heart's content some of these names because they're really nice move. Etsy's up close to 6% on the day,
Hmm.
but I'm a trend trader, so I'm going to stick with names that are trending above their 200-day moving average. So yeah, interesting. But for me, I'm just, if I were to trade it, it would be a really short-term trade. Another one that
Gotcha.
is above the 200-day moving average is Airbnb. I have no position in this one. I'm just kind of watching that one for now.
Okay. So are you looking for it to clear maybe the high on Friday or where?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's what I'm looking for. And it actually went there some point today, I think maybe right in the beginning of the day. And it's since then it's been kind of coming in a little bit. So that one's on the watch list for now. No position. And yeah, if I have an alert set like right around that 119 level, and if that starts to act well, you might find me participate in that one as well.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's a good one to keep an eye on, and at least some decent volume on there. So not too bad. Okay. Are there any other symbols you've been taking a look at the last couple days?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there's, I look at a lot of
Yeah,
things.
of course.
I did get out of a trade today. Because on a day like this, I try to take some profits, but this move may not be done, and it's one of those things where, again, I know when it's really strong like this, a market, I try to be a net seller. But one of the names that I took off this morning was XBI, and that's just the equally weighted biotech ETF.
Hmm.
And I'm wondering, I held it for about a week, so I got this thing around like $83 and managed to kind of make $5 in this. But I'm wondering if this is going to really get going here and begin to kind of get out of this sideways range that it's been in for a while and begin to trend. So, we're starting to see like, just like what we're saying with some of the other groups, but I'm seeing some strength in some really smaller cap biotechs. Now they add the especially the biotechs have another layer of risk to them because they could be there's always a drug study that's coming out or
Hmm.
something of that nature. And I hate to be in one of these names, and I don't know that a drug study comes out and the name drops on it. So I like actually trading the ETF in this sense because you're diversifying away the single stock risk. Still have risk to the
Right.
sector, of course, but you're getting out of that
Sort of that
you know
gamble, or
yeah,
if the
exactly.
news is okay, yeah.
Now you're also missing out if a name gets bought out. That's the bad side of that. There's a positive and there's a negative spin there, but I do like the group, and I feel more comfortable because I'm not an expert in all the individual names and when there's a study and so on and so forth. So I like playing this sector straight through the ETF, and I think as long as this one stays above 87, I would be considering maybe putting the long back on.
Okay. Okay. And now you mentioned like trend trading, and this, it has maybe a short-term trend over the last, month or two, but when you're looking for a longer term trend, like what's your parameters around that? Are you looking for, clear month after month moves up, or what's your trends that you're
Uh,
looking for?
a very easy thing is just to look at the 200-day moving average. And if it's above the
Hmm.
200-day moving average and also the 50-day, so first, like that's how I define uptrend or downtrend is the 200-day moving average. With I use another indicator called the market webs, which I won't bring in here, which is using volume at price. But once a
Right.
name is above the 200-day moving average, then the next, like just very basic thing is to say, is it above the 50-day moving average? If a name just continues to stay above the 50-day moving average, when I was talking about the home builders, I mentioned how they tested the 50-day and they held it. So, that's exactly what you want to see is when something like that occurs. So that you could basically define that you're in a nice defined trend. But at the very least, it's got to be above the 200-day moving average for me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. All right. Do you need to get back to trading, or do you have
Yeah,
some more
I'm
time?
gonna,
Okay.
we got what, about 8 minutes to go. So I'm just gonna look
Yeah.
after my book here. So Josh, I appreciate coming on while you're filling in for Joel, and have a great rest of your day.
Well, yeah, thanks. Appreciate you coming on. We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. See ya.
Thanks. All right. Well, that was Christian Fromhertz, founder and CEO of Tribeca Trade Group. And that I think well, actually, you know what? Let's do a quick check-in at the stock odds portfolio. It's currently this is the weekly portfolio that I talk about in the pre-market prep with stock odds show. It's currently down between Monday and today. What is that? About 0.7, yeah, about 0.7%. Coming up to date, and it was really Wayfair that was bringing it down. This was a short, and let's see here. I mean, personally, I'm looking at this $50 level and what it's going to do at the close here. And if it's showing strength here, I'm probably going to take it off, and we'll go from there. All right. Well, the S&P futures still trending up to the close, but we'll see where they end up. Yeah, still sitting at 42.90. Hopefully they'll reach that 4,300 level. But I think that will do it for the broadcast today. So thanks for tuning in to a little bit of an abbreviated version of the closing print. And we'll be back tomorrow, this time with Todd Gordon. And we'll be talking with him and seeing what he's looking at. So make sure to tune into that tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern again. All right. Thanks, everyone.